Hello and welcome to New Junction. You join me on another Friday update where hopefully I'll be getting some real progress in terms of the station roof done, because I've had a nice delivery from Torri Laser where they've given me some more MDF arches. So as you've seen, I've already done the one row and hopefully I'm going to be able to get the middle and the end in place on this video, but we shall see. So as you've already seen, I've created the first row very easily just with some plastic rodding, and I've literally glued that to the arches at set intervals, and I'm hopefully going to be mimicking that for the middle and then doing a half a row for the end. There was some talk of me only doing the 2 arches, but I think it definitely needs the 3 just to give it that grandeur that I'm looking for. So let's see how it looks. So in the box from Torri Laser literally are more arches. These are 20cm spans. They're normally meant to be bridge side, sort of the iron girder style bridge, and they'd go along with the track, but I'm going to use these as more arches. So finally got enough to finish the roof. What I'm going to do now is turn the HSTs that are going round off, and I'll show you how I'll put the roof together. It's an extremely simple process. And there we are. The trains are stopped, the passengers are disembarking, and I've turned the power off. So that means some real modelling is about to happen. Now the process is extremely simple. As you can see, I've got the first row off for visual reference. I'm very much a use what you've got kind of modeller. And as you can see, I've laid the 2 plastic columns roughly in place. And the way I do it is extremely simple. I actually use the smaller containers off my container train as spacers. So what I'll be doing is placing those down, gluing an arch in the relevant places, and then feeding it up through. That will then set, if I can get that to stand up. And once that's dried or drying, I'll place another container in to hold it in position, and so forth and so forth. And of course you end up ultimately with a row like this, dried and solid. That will of course make the middle row of columns. The end, which will be half arches, could be more interesting to do because that's got to be made to fit, but we'll get there when we get there. So I'm going to start this now, and I'll update you when I've got a bit further. And just like that, that's probably taken about 20 minutes of gluing one, patiently waiting a few minutes, and then it's strong enough to glue the next. I'm going to now leave that for 12 hours just to harden up, and then once it's ready we'll put it on the station. What I've also done is put in another beam on the backboard, as you can see there. That's going to hold up the half an edge. That's literally just a bit of plastic with some rocket car glue, and same again, I'm going to leave that. Once the middle top is on, I'll then be able to cut these to fit as they go, and I'll stick them to that new beam. So, exciting progress. And just like that, they're ready. So I've taken out the containers. Obviously it's all dry and now a solid frame. The reason I'm not attached the fronts, in case you're wondering, is because the fronts will actually have detail on them, including glazing, etc. Whereas the main frames, I mean, once they're painted, they'll be primed and then they'll be painted blue, but the bulk of them will be covered, sadly, in a sort of an outer layer, so basically the roof. So that's why the fronts aren't attached yet, because they'll have more details and go on later. So now for the moment of truth, I'm going to see if they'll fit on my station canopy. And just like that, we have a second row of arches. Now, I know it's such a simple process, but I actually think this is really good, and I'm really impressed with how it's looking on camera, if nothing else. Obviously, it's slightly messy around the edges and very basic of a construction, but it ain't off starting to feel quite a grand building now. You can also see, apart from the new middle sort of row, how the end row is going to go a bit better now that that column is stuck, the beam is stuck onto the backboard and the first one's in. That's going to be one of the next jobs, is to cut them all down and make them all fit. But that'll really complete it off. But no, I think that looks really good. Yeah, I'm really pleased with that. Looking at it from behind, the opposite side, you can see there's a slight V formed in the middle. So because the station curves away and the arches obviously don't, there's always going to be a gap as the platforms go off to one side and the roof doesn't. This was intended, and what I'll do is, once the arches are covered over with their roofing material, which I'm yet to decide what that'll be, I'll also put a middle strip of plasticard in just to fill that gap and join the roof up. The main aim of this, of course, is to keep it portable and keep it flexible should I ever have to move the layout and move the station. It'd be a shame to lose all this hard work, but hopefully this gives you a bit more of an indication of how it's going to go in the future. Obviously the front half, or the front 2/3 are done. The rear third, because it's on the corner and I want to add some more detail to this corner, plus annoyingly I need access to that corner, I've decided for the most part I'm going to leave it open. I might in future, I mean, I've got enough arches to fill this up, but I'm going to leave it for now, because mainly from when you're stood further down the loft, although it looks quite a big gap here, it's well over a foot, it's actually not that obvious from the other side, and I'll show you that now. Of course, back down the loft again, it's very hard to see that there's actually a foot gap between the last arch and that corner, and this is the phone at roughly head height, so I think I'll leave that for now anyway. Plus, because the roof will be covered over with plasticard, etc., and detailing, it'll be much harder to actually reach anything inside the station should there be a problem. So for now I'm going to leave that open, but I don't think it detracts from the view at all. If anything, I might just add a bit to this end, just as that's on the front of the scene, as it were. But we'll see how the build progresses. And just like that, the third row is now in place. I've only put that in temporarily, as I'll need to get to the section underneath, and of course they all need to come back out for a bit of spraying up, because as I say, they'll be going blue like the fronts. But all in all, now that's completed, it doesn't half look like a superstructure, especially with all the lights on. You can really see the station starting to come together, and it's exactly what I imagined back in the day when I got rid of my sidings that were on this board. This is exactly what I wanted, a big mainline station, giant canopies, or at least the image of a giant station, which would in theory go further back, but this is exactly what I imagined. Excuse me. And I have to say, I'm like I said, I'm really chuffed with myself, because it doesn't half look good. It's a bit tatty, but if it looks good on camera, that's all that I care about, really. But it takes a good photo. But no, when that roof is covered, it's going to look really good and really enclose this station. And of course, as the scene continues on, obviously we'll start getting town buildings here. What I'm going to do, underneath the white beam that's against the back scene to the floor, I'm going to put a photo in of the rest of the station. So it'll look as if the station goes back even further, then there'll be a wall which will follow the track side down, and that should enclose the scene quite nicely. That twinned with the roofing on top, and of course the glazing at the front, that should really enclose it nicely. But, the next dilemma I have is trying to spray these roof pieces up, because they're bigger than my the box I've been using to spray stuff up with, but that could be fun. For the spraying, I'm literally using Halford's white primer in this instance, a giant can of, and then some midnight blue Humbrol spray for the actual columns, which matches Newcastle Central. So as ever, thank you very much for watching. It's been a very relatively basic video really, but I think the results speak for themselves. I'm really chuffed with this. Hopefully you can see where it's going now, and you can start to picture the image I've got in my head of how this station is going to progress. But as ever, thank you for watching. I'm going to leave you with a few running clips now, possibly some of it being sprayed, but depends if I can film it or not. So thank you for watching. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.